She rushed up the tower stairs and pushed into the lamp room where Papa was hurrying into his slicker. "Francis," he hollered, above the howl of the wind, "look there, just past the ledge. Do you see it?" Francis peered through the telescope and spotted an upturned fishing boat. Papa shoved his sou'wester on his head. "I'll try to reach him in my dory." "No, Papa," Francis cried. "Francis, I must, and you must keep the light burning." Her heart thudded. She'd never lit the wick herself. Too soon after he'd left, a blast of wind blew out the light. Her hands shook. A gust blew out her match. Once, twice. A third time, she lit the match and held it to the wick. The flame wavered. She held her breath. When she let it out, the flame was burning. Francis peered down to the water below, where Papa was dragging something over the gunwales of his dory. It seemed like hours later when she finally saw Papa below, dragging a dripping man toward the kitchen door. The nor'easter raged all night long. Francis hovered over the mariner. She rubbed his hands and feet, trying to chase off the bone chill of the sea. In the morning, Peter slid into the kitchen in his pajamas. He eyed the stranger. "Are you here to take us to the mainland?" "No, sir," he said. "I'm Mr. Dunlap, the fella your papa dragged out of the sea last night, thanks to your sister keeping the light burning." Peter turned his wide eyes on Francis. "You did?" "We're the Lighthouse family," Francis said, pouring tea for Mr. Dunlap. "I had to." "But we're going ashore today, right, Francis?" Francis glanced away. "Maybe not, Peter," she whispered. Peter's smile crumpled, and he ran from the room. Francis and the cat followed. Peter lay curled in a tight ball on the bed. He reached out to pet the cat, but refused to look at Francis. "I'm sorry," she said, "but remember what you told Papa the other day?" He lay still. "What?" "We're the Lighthouse family now. The Ledge Light family." Francis combed her fingers through Peter's hair. "If it weren't for me, Mr. Dunlap would be dead at the bottom of the sea, Peter. Papa and I saved him. That's what lighthouse keepers do." Peter rolled over. "But can lighthouse keepers have Christmas too?" "Oh, I think they can." In the kitchen, Mr. Dunlap was asleep by the stove. Francis tapped Peter's shoulder and whispered, "I'm putting you in charge of a gift for Mr. Dunlap. Santa might not be able to find him." "I'll do it," Peter agreed, heading for his room. "He's part of the Ledge Light family today," Francis called after him. "Just like the one-eared cat," Peter answered. By afternoon, the storm slid up the coast. Peter and Francis went out to find a green pine bough. They dragged it inside to the parlor and laid their gifts beneath. "No cookies," Peter said. "No piano music," Francis added. "But we have a little Christmas anyway," said Peter. Francis squeezed his hand. "Yes, we do." "Let's get Papa and Mr. Dunlap," said Peter. "Better give the cat his gift first, then put him out," Francis said. Peter and Francis led Papa and Mr. Dunlap into the parlor. Together they sang Jingle Bells as best they could without Aunt Martha's piano music. At the end of the song, Francis heard a roaring noise outside. "Listen," he said. They rushed out. A small plane circled low above the lighthouse. It circled the second time. Then the plane dipped and banked to one side and swooped past. A package fell out of the tail and landed at the water's edge. Inside was a thick layer of marsh, hay wrapped around a heavy burlap sack. Peter hopped from one foot to another as Papa carried the sack into the house. "Santa sent a plane." Yes, said Frances, her eyes wide, he did. Frances pulled treasure after treasure from the bag. Tins of coffee, tea, cocoa, and sugar, crayons, jacks, yo-yos, books, and a Bible. Peter clapped. Now there's more Christmas from Santa. Papa shook his head in wonderment. Frances reached into the bag one last time and removed a note. With thanks for the sacrifices your Ledge Light family make every day of the year to keep sailors safe upon our waters. Season's greetings from the Flying Santa. I'll second that, boomed Mr. Dunlap. Papa wrapped his strong arms around Frances and Peter, my Ledge Light family. From outside came a yowl and a scratch at the door. Everyone waited for Papa. He rubbed his chin and laughed. That cat is part of our Ledge Light family, Peter said as he flung the door open and let the one-eared cat inside. Author's note. On Christmas Day, 1929, floatplane pilot William Wincapah launched the Flying Santa service to honor the many lighthouse keepers and their families he had come to know on the isolated islands in Maine's Penobscot Bay. He delivered packages filled with holiday gifts of small necessities and luxuries by dropping them from his plane to the lights in the Rockland area. Over the years, the flights expanded into other states, first in New England and then across the continent. As the tradition grew, expenses were underwritten by businesses, and other flying Santas followed Bill, including famed maritime historian and author Edward Rowe Snow. With the exception of the war years, 1941 to 1944, the Flying Santa service has been continually active from 1929 until the present, now visiting Coast Guard families as the tradition continues.